Theo? Theo?
Sure, or Vincenzo. That's fine.
Vincenzo. I'll call you I like that, Vincenzo. Very Italian.
Yeah.
So, Vincenzo, where does this, in your opinion, where's this sort of gender sort of ideological, if you want to put it that way, or the sort of terminology of gender and bringing that into the realms of biological sex and differentiating it? Where's it all stem from, in your opinion? Where's it come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually think, and it's hard to pinpoint. I actually think that what we're experiencing now with this whole gender ideology stuff is derived from, I guess, two underlying philosophies. One would be basically it's a logical conclusion of classical liberalism, and then another one would be it's sort of like an extension of the same underlying philosophy that underlies feminism. Right? It's basically a Marxist view. Heteronormativity is like the oppressor class, and the other.
Is that where this patriarchy comes from in relation to this? Is this what the when they talk about the patriarchy system within this?
Yeah, it is definitely related, right? It's because feminism itself is a neo-Marxist, or rather, it's just a Marxist ideology. I don't know. A lot of these stuffs are tied together. I'm rambling on a lot, but basically, queer theory is the notion that they want to basically break down that hierarchy of sexual norms and say that they're all equally permissible. And that started with the acceptance of homosexuality a couple of decades ago, right? And then it moved on to like now we're experiencing transgenderism, and then we see these little weird sprinkles of pedophilia, like for instance, pornography in elementary schools with the sexualization of children.
Well,
Or
that's where MAPS comes in, isn't it? MAPs.
absolutely.
No, let's
Minor person. It's a play on linguistics, isn't it? Yeah, so it's a slippery slope, isn't it? Where we're going.
It's sick, and we need to push back on everything. And I think Abundance is correct too. She sort of alluded to earlier. We need to push back on anything deviating from heteronormative monogamous standards, and that means transgenderism and homosexuality as well. That's just my stance.
Controversial. I like it.
And lesbians and gays abusing women with their surrogates as well. We need to push that back. But yet we give them a child.
What's that, Abundance? Say that again.
They're completely incapable. However, why are they giving children? Why are they mentally unwell and given children?
Well, this is what we need to get to the bottom of. Why is it happening?
How has it come to this? But anyway.
I just felt a little bit duty bound to go back on a comment that was made as I'm up here with the speaker. It was just I was enjoying some of the things that Vincenzo had said, but there was one thing that I did disagree with him about that I just wanted to comment on, was about this sort of when gay men, homosexuality gets sort of drawn into discussions about gender ideology and the kind of heteronormativity thing. And I think it's important to separate those out because personally speaking, lesbianism, bisexuality, gay men, heterosexuals, sexuality is not the same as gender ideology. And I know that some of you will completely disagree with me on that, and that's absolutely fine, but I just want to state that.
But Isla, if we're saying that person up in the nest breastfeeding as a man and he's technically a man, right?
Come back to me in a minute when I've finished what I'm saying. So just carrying on with the these guys who think that they can get pregnant. From a medical perspective, there's been a lot of discussion about this in the last year. I don't think that it's going to happen maybe in the next sort of 10 years, but I think that it's also important to go a bit deeper in the discussions about the kind of psychopathology with regards to people who are identifying in this way and why they're doing it. But I think that it's not helpful to stay at the superficial level of sexuality.
Yeah, if I could just respond to that, I was indeed implicated. Would that be okay if I could respond real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Vincenzo.
Sure. Yeah, so I understand that and I'm not sure anyone's political leanings here, right? But a lot of people on the political right, they like to think, okay, well, homosexuality, we can accept that, but then like transgenderism and pedophilia, that will push back against, that needs to be unacceptable. And they think that they could sort of like split the thing in half. I don't really think that that's possible. I think it's all a package deal. Like I said, if you look into queer theory, and I can put the link in the Jumbotron to that, it is basically the notion that all of these different modes of being are equal. And, when we're talking about equality, they have to all eventually be equally permissible, because the left doesn't believe in hierarchy. They believe in the total enshrinement of equality. And so all of these different modes of being, heteronormativity, homosexuality, bestiality, necrophilia, transgenderism, pedophilia, everything, in a long enough timeline, they are going to advocate, they're going to basically say that those other modes of being are the oppressed modes of being. And obviously they're against that, right? That's a hierarchy. They perceive hierarchies as...
Let me just ask you a quick question, Vincenzo, before you carry
Sure.
on. How do you feel about gay people, whether it's gay male or lesbian female, that are pushing back against the rest of it, all the sort of trans ideology, blah blah blah, etc., etc., etc. The ones that are gay or lesbian just want to be left alone, and now they feel that they're being threatened by this takeover from the other letters that are being sort of added to it. What's your thoughts on those particular people?
Yeah. So it definitely is the case that there are homosexuals who are not pedophiles. They're completely against the acceptance of this other stuff. It's just that, unfortunately, I don't think that allowing anything deviating from heteronormative monogamous relationships, I don't think that that is actually good for society. And I think in a long enough timeline, it will lead to these other things eventually being permissible. At least people will start advocating for them. And I put a link right here in the Jumbotron, actually. This is something that a lot of people aren't aware of. 40% of pedophiles are homosexual. And when you add in bisexuals, it's actually upwards of 60%. So we're talking about this very small percentage of the population, right? Gay people being only 3% of the population at any given time are disproportionately pedophiles.
Sorry, I do have my hand up, Andrew, but I will forget, and I want to ask Vincenzo a question, if that's okay, just on what he said there on the
Go ahead,
statistics.
Amanda, go ahead.
Yeah, and then I'll put my hand back up again, because Vincenzo, I am not a clever, intelligent person, but see when you say that 30 or 40% of these people are gay, or LGB, whatever, that means 60% are straight, and I understand about the proportions, but are these 30% of people that are gay, are they male or female?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, it's my accent. The 30 to 40% of people that you quoted, is that right? That were gay are.
No, he said 40% of the gays are pedophiles. That's what he said.
Yeah. That's
No. Wait, hold on. Just to be clear, it's 40% of pedophiles are homosexual.
Right. Okay. So 40% of pedophiles are homosexual. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Which means 60% are heterosexual, and of that 40% who are homosexual, are they male or female?
They're disproportionate males. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's what I would think. So, that's okay. That's all I wanted to ask, because to me it then just comes down to men, and not anything about being gay, because it's if 60% of these are done by straight men and 30% are done by gay men, mostly, then it's men that are doing it. But anyway, I'll put my hand back up.
Yeah, and do we have any numbers on what percentage of gay men are paedophiles? Is there anything in that study that can quantify that? Is that even possible to quantify?
Can I just make one point? I'll be very quick and I'll give you the mic. So you said we've got to take gay men sort of out the equation, but what, how, and why? Because if we're all agreeing that man up in the nest is a man with a mental illness who's gay, you cannot take gay men out of it. Trans women are gay men, so you can't take gay.
You can't take any man out of anything. That's the problem. It's the men.
This study, though, is of sex offenders, so that's a bias anyway. Just looking at it from the off.
What do you mean? Can you elaborate?
I'm just looking at the methodology for this study that you put in the nest, and the population that was studied were all sex offenders.
Yeah, but then they correlated it to how many are heterosexual, and they found that they're disproportionately homosexual.
I think I'm going to have to look at it more depth, but I'm thinking that that's a massive bias way off the bat. But I will.
I thought Vincenzo said
Well,
it was disproportionately homosexuals. It was
well,
only
what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to go through this evidence with a fine-tooth comb, and we're going to have to dissect it and see the methodology. Not That's what evidence is. People post evidence, and then people can look at it and dissect it and go through it and make their own decisions. The evidence is there, the study's been done, and it's up to us then to disseminate through the study, I would say. Let's go to the hands anyway. So we've got a lot of hands. I think it was BZ. How are you, my
no.
friend?
It was me. I didn't get to say my point yet.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to add to what Vincenzo said. I agree with him. And the problem is, if you look, when you see that all this gay community, most of them supporting the LGBTQ, this trans agenda, and pushing for it. And when you see gay couple who are raising a boy as a girl on TikTok from a young age, all this adds up to, this fucking degeneracy. And that's the issue. And that's how it will be. And they are the one pushing all this pride bullshit with all the degeneracy where the parents go with their kids and watch this shit. So I agree. And it started with it. It started with accepting the gay, and then they just pushed the next step and next step. And now it's all this map and whatever. So if the gays don't want to be associated with it, then they shouldn't promote it either. That's all. Thank you.
I would support anybody that is going against this trans ideology, whether they're gay, straight, I don't care. And there are a lot of gay people that are being victimized again through no fault of their own because of this movement that is turning people against them. And that's my humble opinion. And let's go to Amanda, because I know you're burning.
Can I just add something, Andrew, please? I
Yeah,
agree with you. I don't care about people being gay. I have no issues with that at all. But unfortunately, there is a huge proportion of the gay community who supports this also. I know there's a lot who don't, but unfortunately, the majority do, and that's the issue.
Yeah, definitely, BZ. We see it with the pride marches. I mean, it's just vile.
Leave the fucking LGB alone, right? Leave them alone and do your own thing, because for me, I don't find it very strange. There's only two sexes, right? There's male and there's female. I don't find it strange that with only two sexes, that some people are attracted to their own sex or both sexes, right? It's not strange for me. And I know so many gay people, and they've been great, whatever, and I've known so many straight people that have been great, but I've known gay people that have been cunts, and I've known straight people that have been cunts. We hear about, anyway, I'm digressing, but my point is, I just want to divorce this LGB from the T. But what I will say is, I'm not going to get into the whole family thing and adoption or surrogacy just now, because I know that's why a lot of people get upset with the gay community, because they get upset with adoption and stuff like that. So I totally get that. And that's another big, massive conversation, whether they should be allowed to, adopt children is a totally different conversation. But that's just my stance. I don't see.
Yeah, well, I've done spaces, and I've had people. I've had a guy in who's gay. He was married, and he and his husband they'd adopted a child. Max, you were there. Was it two children he'd adopted, or was it one? I can't remember.
I think it was two.
I think it was two, wasn't it? And we had him in the space for maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. And there were a number of people grilling him. And he stayed and he answered all the questions. But it's definitely
That's because not all gay
topic
men are
that we can go into.
Andrew.